Tango, all units, fire at will. 1-2, pick a target. Too many, Captain. Watch your stabilizer, Gold 6. Anybody cover me. I got 2 vultures on my tail. Gotta hold them here. Watch your left. I can't shake them. I'm hit. Where's our reinforcements?
The concept of expanded universe refers to something simple, all that are not the movies. When the Star Wars films were only 6 ones, everything else was expanded universe, but that same concept applies to the current things that are being polished of Star Wars during Disney's leadership, that are not films, either part of the saga or other ones. And even if its current expanded universe within Disney Canon may not shine like the original expanded universe, it still has some amazing jewels. Today, we will go through them. Be aware, in this top we are not including the Clone Wars, because it will take the first spot and it wasn't done by Disney, but the upcoming things were done by Disney. With nothing more to add, hello there brothers and sisters, and here I give you the best things of Disney Canon Expanded Universe, of the Star Wars of course. Number 6. Jedi Fallen Order. Fallen Order gave us back the hope in Star Wars video games after recent events like the whole microtransaction scandal, and its protagonists made their way into our hearts, with a campaign full of Easter eggs, references, battles, views, and more, and a story that left us wanting to know how these characters are not in the film and make us wish that they are not dead. Fallen Order looked like EA's Disney Canon version of Force Unleashed, and it delivered more than one expected, maybe even better than Force Unleashed 2, or maybe tied with it. Number 5. EA Battlefront 2. If we only look at the story alone, this game only have a high rank because of bad story. But the reason why it beats Fallen Order is because of the game as a whole and the campaign that they delivered, even if the campaign was only good until Aiden switched sides. The previous EA Battlefront got all the backlash it got because of the lacks in content, but the backlash was the ultimate wake-up call needed to the people making the game to do a game with a multiplayer, a system of play, a variation in characters, modes, maps, and a story worthy of being called a Star Wars game. Even if its full content was released in updates, and even if we still didn't get some characters that we all wanted, the game is still worthy to be in any Star Wars fan's library. Number 4. Star Wars Rebels. Rebels beats EA Battlefront and Fallen Order for a lot of reasons besides of the legendary characters outside the show. None of them is Ezra, of course. Rebels at first wasn't well received after the whole scandal of cancelling the Clone Wars with the only reason of working in a series focusing between episodes 3 and 4 focusing on Rebels. So even I have my doubts against the show, and even I throw aside the whole concept. But slowly as characters from outside the show were brought in order to sometimes keep the show alive, it allowed us to see the good things of the show by itself, like the battles, the visualization of the rebellion growing, something that we have seen in the real expanded universe but mostly in novels and just some video games, and the cool references of upcoming Star Wars things in timeline like Rogue One, and also the stars of the show that ended up stealing the show after appearances of Vader, Ahsoka, Thrawn and others were left as a secondary art. This show ended, but left us with some cool stories that we are eager to explore more, either in a direct continuation or in other Star Wars projects. Number 3. The Mandalorian. It was logical that this will be above all the mentioned stuff, for the simple reason that, unlike all the previous mentioned content, The Mandalorian shined with all of its glory that we expected since the very first episode. And when there was speculations it was really worthy the hype that generated, well, it was way more than we expected. Every episode was a piece of art, the stories are simple and each episode could be its own thing by itself, the characters brought especially for the show are true essence of Star Wars, and even if I would have preferred to leave the element of the Force completely outside the show, the jokes that say that the Mandalorian carries the Star Wars saga are not 100% exaggerated, because this show now serves as a new face of Star Wars for newcomers for times to come. Number 2. The Vader comics, all the sagas and the ones in publication at the dates of this video. Vader is the face and protagonist of Star Wars, no question about that. And unlike the comics that are published between episodes 4 and 6, the ones of Vader are not just some random stories to put characters of the original trilogy and sparkle them with heroism, fan service, references and more. But each of the 3 comic of Vaders are things needed to expand his history and tragedy, and that can be even, for real, better than the previous Vader comics from the expanded universe. The ones between episode 4 and 5 show us how Vader can be when the Emperor threatens him with a replacement. The ones between episode 3 and 4 show us the elements of the Empire that add in the relationship with Vader, like the Inquisitors, his castle, his lightsaber, and the ones between episode 5 and 6 make us understand more of the tragedy that is Vader and that he's not a monster full of rage, but someone filled with hate for himself and the stuff that he did against his loved ones, especially Padme. And be aware that some of these comics will leave you with a lot of tears. Honorable mention in advance, The Bad Batch. Honorable mention, the Aftermath book series. Number 1, the Dr. Aphra comics, all the series and the one non in publication at the date of this video. Since its first appearance, Dr. Aphra reminded us that in Star Wars you don't need to have Force powers to rock, even more than Force users. And as she became just an agent of Vader, being better than all the Inquisitors combining, and showing us how amazing she was, it didn't surprise us that she gained her own comic series, with a second line of comics that they published at the time of this video, and unlike, again, some random stories, she had her own story adapted to the character. She didn't just was put aside of the war and started to be an agent and killing stormtroopers just because they are the antagonists. She just beat everyone and everything that ran into her, even Vader. The only 3 comics of Star Wars that had the longest run are the ones of Star Wars because the protagonists are Luke, Han, and Leia, the ones of Vader because he's the face of Star Wars, and the ones of Dr. Aphra. Do I need to tell more? I could spoil you the ones of Vader. I will spoil you the ones of Star Wars, but I won't spoil you the ones of Dr. Aphra, because even if this concept seems something unexpected for Star Wars, it's without doubt the best thing from expanding universe within Disney Canon, and the best thing also from Disney Canon. And added to extra to this spot, the Dr. Aphra audiobook serves as an expansion that started in the Vader comics and narrates more elements from her own comics as well. So hopefully we can see her being delivered into a full, very well-deserved multimedia project very soon. And that was all for the video. If you like it, please give it a like, activate the bell, comment it and share it. Until next time, this is Cardo wishing you all a happy day, and may the force be with you all.